Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our breakout session. Today, I am joined by Ron Apta with Polaris Real Estate in San Francisco, Lucas Beauchamp with was it Luxury
Vantage Real Estate.
Sorry, in Miami, and then we have Michael Silva with Happen Houston in Houston, Texas. So welcome, everybody. Oh, I'm nobody. I am Casey McLeod. I'm the managing broker of California here at Side. So I'm the one that most of you probably get the emails from every week, and the one that you reach out to and you have your questions. So keep them coming, just not for the next hour because I'm not going to be able to respond. All right, so let's jump in with our first question today. And Ron, we'll start with you, and that is, what lessons have been learned over the past 18 months as we have progressed through these unprecedented market conditions?
The importance of air conditioning and air filtration devices, I'd say, is probably for me personally in my house. Seriously, in all honesty, I'd say there's more to life than real estate with COVID and all that, and just it's important to be a human being. And so the biggest lesson I've had is the most joy I've had this past 18 months is the opportunity, using a bad situation like this pandemic as an opportunity to reach out to my clients, past clients, and just, I like to just say, hey, I'm just calling to say hi, nothing more, nothing less, how you holding up? Your kids reintegrating into school? Oh no, or just have a conversation. And what's interesting about when you do that and you're just humane and you're just a human being with past clients is, even though it's a truly altruistic question that I'm asking them, I have no ulterior motive, but quickly it turns into actually being a business opportunity. Hey, thanks for calling. Hey, but how's the market? How are these prices holding up given COVID? And before you know it, you're having a conversation, even though you are just calling socially. That's been, and just being a human being instead of it's all about business. It has been the biggest lesson that I've had, is how the reaction I've gotten from my clients has been more surprise and true gratitude about that. So that's the biggest lesson I would say, is just to be a human being and not just be focused always about, sales.
Lucas, how about you?
Yeah, well, Miami was a little bit different with the COVID situation, because at the beginning of the COVID, we were very, very shocked, as everyone in the world. But then, like 3-4 months after, everything started opening up in our state. So personally, like having a lot of time to do many, many things, organizing the house, I spent a lot of time with the kids. That was great. Not being able to see people, that I'm a person people, so I like to be with people, I like to invite people, so that was hard. So another lesson is expect the unexpected. Like we were in panic when this happened. Miami, Florida, since 2016, the market was getting slower and slower and slower, and the prices, everything was like overpriced, nothing was selling. So we got hit with COVID, and we were like, okay, now it's going to happen. Like nothing was selling before. No one is going to want to buy now. So what's going on? So we were in that period of time where we were very worried about, and then everything starts opening up, and all of a sudden, all of the eyes of the country, the people in the United States was looking at Miami. What's going on in Miami? Miami was opening up slowly but surely. We got great weather, people going to the beaches. Even though we have the social distancing, everything was opening up, and so we weren't expecting that. And that's what put the market, to pick up the market really rapidly. So at the pace we are now in the whole country, I believe we started the whole trend in the time. So we weren't expecting it, but...
When did Miami open up? June? It was June last year? You weren't shut down very long.
We were shut down since March to, in June. And then everything started like changing a lot. Like they were opening some, like restaurants, half capacity. Supermarket was open all the time. The curfews were extended in the time like you could be out. So everything started opening little by little, and yeah. Then in the summer, we were basically fully open, to be honest. Yeah.
All right, awesome. And Michael, how was it in Houston?
Yeah, so first I just want to say thanks for having us here, and second is I'm super nerdy. I like printed my answers because I usually black out when I get up on stage like this because I hate speaking in front of people, but I think it's good for us all to just share our experiences, so I'm just going to run down a few of these things. Number one, for me, the importance of time tracking and block scheduling, allowing time for deep work that really requires uninterrupted time throughout the week to concentrate on those matters that deserve that special attention. You know, as Ron mentioned, that could be really getting your schedule and calendar in check and under control allows you not only to focus more on just kind of the work stuff, but also there's a lot of personal upside and benefits to that. So, and again, just the importance of self-improvement and care. My wife and I got into this real estate stuff together about 7 years ago, and about 4 years ago, she branched off and started running the construction company that we started as well. And in the midst of 2020, with real estate brokerage that was a bit all over the place, we didn't actually know what was happening week to week, month to month. And then what the construction world has experienced in 2021 is very similar to what we went through as brokerage last year, all while raising, now a 4.5 and 2.5-year-old. So, we devote a lot of time to our work. But one of the things that I just wanted to share just personally is, we should be doing an equal amount of work. Devoting a lot of time to our organizations and what makes them successful, but also putting in the work on just kind of the real human shit that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, and that's either raising kids, being a better spouse, sibling, father, daughter. So for me, it was really just kind of getting the calendar and schedule real under control. There's just a ton of benefits that we experience professionally and personally, and I think that one of the things that you'll start to see, and we can lead by example if that you're the leader of the brokerage or founder or whatever, those good habits and routines that you really force upon yourself start to trickle down through your core team, and there's certain individuals within the organization or company that will start to pick that up, and that's a good way to create the most amount of value out of each person, and they're really happy to perform. So I think a lot of it, whether it's good habits, bad habits, they start at the top, and we can really make a difference there and positively affect the people within the company. So.
Awesome. And then Lucas, we'll go back to you for the next question. So if you knew now if you knew at the beginning of this housing cycle what you know now, what would you have done differently and why?
That's a hard one because I don't know. It was so unexpectedly, like knowing what's going on to the market is something that you will never anticipate what's happening. So in my experience, I had to go through tough moments with clients. So I have a client that she was getting into a horrible divorce. They have this home that they needed to sell, and we were in the middle of the COVID. So that house would sell in another market for 30% more than what they sell, but they needed to do it. And I couldn't prevent them to do it. Even if I knew what was going to happen, they needed to do it in that precise moment. So chasing the market is not something that you can, I don't think anyone can really anticipate what's going on and what's going to happen. But yeah, that's something that if I couldn't hold them, hey, we need to wait a little bit, be patient. But if you look back in that time, everyone was in this, even myself, we were there is nothing to do. You have to sell, you have the buyer now. You look at the buyer like a crazy people that is buying when no one is buying, and he's getting a deal, but he doesn't know he's getting a deal anyways, because it could drop another 30% in that moment. So, but yeah, keep calm sometimes. Like if you don't need to do nothing, just stay quiet, steady and wait. And
Michael, how about you?
I'm going to gear this one, and I'll probably get a bit off track, but that's okay. I'm going to gear it towards side and even the coaching program that we use, which is Workman. I think they're going to be speaking at some point today or tomorrow, but they're very real estate specific. We've learned a ton from both companies, both side and everything that they have to offer, and then the coaching company, which has provided just a lot of clarity on the months and years ahead. So side introduced us to Workman, which super appreciative of, and I think that it's just a matter, I think the only thing that I wish as far as what I would have done differently is honestly start them sooner. So side not being the case, we've been a partner with them now for 3 years, but really honing in on a solid partner as far as coaching program is concerned to help you with that tactical day-to-day, everything from staying focused on top priority projects, and making sure that all activities from top down are leading with revenue, and really just keeping it simple and executing. I think, I was talking with a couple guys this morning, one who's at the beginning of his career and another who's been in the business for 30 years. And we just so happen to be talking about this coaching program, and there's a lot of question marks in what we do. And it's very difficult to find the right partner to really help you with that day to day. And am I experiencing, is it normal, or how do I hire, or when do I know it is the right time to hire, or what does this person need to be focusing on, and what is the capacity for someone like that? How do I pay them? And we've had a lot of that cleared up through the coaching program. So I think that, I guess to answer your question, even though it doesn't quite make sense with the answer doesn't actually make sense with the question, but I just wish that we would have gotten started on that sometime sooner. And for perspective, I mean, I'm 12 years into the business and just now really finding that solid coaching program. So I would highly recommend that everyone look into it.
Great. Ron, how about you?
For me, I think just being calm and breathing, I think, to get through it. I think I'm the oldest one on the panel. I'm 50 years old, so I think I've got some perspective perhaps that, I've seen recessions, and I think one regret is I didn't talk my sellers off the ledge. There's many sellers that elected to sell because they thought the sky was falling, and given that I have some perspective, maybe because I'm a little older, whatever, that I could have said, hey, remember 2008? Remember, we thought the sky was falling, remember that? And we got past it. By 2011, 2012, we were right back above we thought we were all the financial crisis, the sky was falling. Didn't happen. And so I think I had a few sellers that I think were on the border whether or not they were going to want to sell. And I think that's one thing I maybe could have told them, hey, just wait. This too shall pass. And I think that's a regret that I have, that they could have sold for probably 20, 30% more now than they did last year. So that's one thing, just to breathe and stay calm.
And Michael, we'll go back to you. I think this is going to be the question that everyone's going to want to know the most, is if you could provide one key ingredient to you and your team's success during this period, what would it be?
Yeah, this was actually my favorite question, and maybe it'll be a little absurd, but I'm a firm believer in mentors. So to give you an example, and this is gonna sound crazy, LeBron James style almost. I have 8 different mentors, and then not all of those are real estate or business specific. So, you have somebody like Workman. You've got John Bennett, who's our business manager with Side. I've had a long-standing relationship with a just business coach since my early years. A therapist, I think that's a good mentor, just to kind of help you with everything that life can throw at you. So, you know, my thing is like at optimal performance and relationship, like if it's the right partners, these are a couple things I wrote down, like you're going to adopt the healthiest habits, routines, and get the most out of these relationships. Things like how to optimize working relationships, you know, within the office. I think that as far as, I'm just gonna freestyle this now. I think that it's very much like a team first mentality, you know, like our thing around the office is if it's good for the group, it's gonna be good for me. And very much like a no ego and no asshole policy as well. Like we just don't do that shit. And that's made very clear up front at the company, and we will weed them out quick if they don't adhere to that culture. So just kind of keeping a very rich culture of group first mentality, but also no BS. I mean, that's one of the things that our industry, and I think Guy was talking a lot about earlier, it's like that's all we've been filled with over the past 50, 60 years. So what may seem normal, it's actually not. And that's one of the things that it makes me proud to be amongst a group of individuals like this and really standing behind the mission that Side is pushing to the forefront. It's really amazing to be a part of. So I guess as far as the key ingredient, just good mentorship, which at that point, like if you're getting the most out, I mean, one of the things that if you, in our company, we only have, it's like 15 people. We're pretty small, and we'll probably always keep it that way. And, you know, reviewing those notes and those conversations with the mentors or mastermind groups and reviewing them consistently and then asking yourself, like, who can this apply to within the company right now? If the subject and the time makes sense, then, you know, approach that person if that's your right hand or if it's your buyer's agent or if it's a support role or somebody that needs to talk to the support role about some sort of breakdown. You know, I think it's important just for perspective, like, you know, we're a very high unit, probably on the lower side for Side as far as average price point. So there's got to be a system for everything. So really just learning from the mistakes and experiences of others, and a lot of that can come through books and podcasts. Like I consider that a mentor. So, but you got to carve out the time and stay strict with it.
Yeah. So, what are the key ingredients that you and your team have used to get through this cycle?
Yeah, I don't have a big team, so I'm building a team right now. But I have been mentoring and coaching some other agent friends. So I'm basically in our market that is it's a very tough, not very nice market. And always try to teach them that you have to be nice to people. Like you have to be ethical, and you have to be, you know, many people doing business that you don't want to be with, like to do business. Sometimes you just go to see a property and you see the realtor and you're like, I don't want to make this, you know, I have to deal with this guy, like I don't want to do it. So don't be that guy. That's basically what I tell them. Like don't fight with anyone in the industry because you will end up seeing them again if they work in the same place. But yeah, just doing that, being very ethical. So they will remember that. So having those strong relationships with other brokers because they know that you are the one that is going to make the deal. You are the one that's going to work for the transaction, both agents, both sides. That's basically what I do. The key ingredient is just have those very strong relationships with other brokers that you will end up working with. Having that respect that people will say, hey, I'm working with this guy because this guy will, you know, he's a good person. He's not going to be playing game, no BS or anything. So yeah, basically that's what I think that will be the key ingredient, and having those very, very strong relationship with the other brokers in your area and your market. That's very, very important. So when you're going to make a deal with another broker, it's going to be very easy if you know the other person. So I remember I used to go to every single open house just to meet the brokers in my area. So just to try to make friends with them. So in the case that I have a buyer, I will be confident that first, no one is going to steal my client, and second, that it's going to be a pleasant transaction time doing the thing. So that's basically what I think is a key ingredient. So people liking you is going to be better and easier to make deals, even to get the price you want. You want to be friends, and and with this market with multiple offers situations that is happening in every single listing or sale. It's better if you are a friend with the other side realtor. So, yeah.
The same is true with other managers and other brokers.
And
It's a lot easier to get the issues worked out if you have a relationship with them too. But Ron, San Francisco is obviously a crazy market as well. What is your key to success?
So I got into the business 20-ish years ago, and there was no DocuSign, there was no Dropbox, there was no, Facebook, social media. So for me, at my core, I'm kind of old school. I just get back to the basics, which is picking up the phone and realizing, remembering that this is a contact sport. You call people, even though nowadays everybody's on their text messages, and there was no iPhone when I got started in this business, and just making sure that even if just leaving a message, just to let them know you're there and thinking about them, just checking in to say hello. What you just said is really a key thing too, which is when I got into the business around 20 years ago, I hired a real estate coach, and my in-laws are realtors in the East Bay, and Alameda. They were before they retired. And the real estate coach asked me, "Who do you think your client is?" I'm like, "Oh, it's the buyer or the seller." She's like, "No, it's the agent on the other side of the transaction. The buyers come and go. It's the agents." So making sure you go to the broker tours and you talk to the agents. And I'll take it one step further. We all have gifting programs, right? That's a key ingredient. Probably you gift your clients. Why not gift your colleagues? So that was a big thing we just started doing, is gifting fellow agents, because let's say it's a competitive bidding situation and you were not an asshole, you were nice, you went and whatnot, and you're also they're on your gifting program. Guess what's going to happen? When you submit that offer and there's 4 or 5 others, that agent will probably, hopefully, because you're a nice person and you also gift them regularly, give you the last look. Hey, your client, too low, but hey, love to work with you. Think they can do this? And maybe you have a unilateral conversation. So just being appreciative, I think, is a key ingredient to answer your question specifically in all ways, and to remember that this is a contact sport, and to pick up the phone.
Definitely relationships is a key ingredient here for all of you. But we'll move on to our next question, and Michael, we'll start with you. If you could look into your crystal ball and see, when is this market going to transition from such a hot seller's market to maybe more of a balanced or even buyer's market? When do you think that'll be, and what will that look like?
Oh shit, wish I knew. I mean, look, the reality is like what we can control, especially is like the top tier professionals within an industry, is the narrative, right? So, we're just very truthful as to what's going on. And I mean, if you log on to the web or you watch the news, like, they're saying the market is one thing, but what may actually be happening on the ground is a different. And I think that we've experienced that in Houston. We for sure have. Talking to business manager at side and coach with the coaching program, and these guys are very dialed in on what's going on around the nation, because obviously they're dealing with multiple people like us that are top performers in major metropolitan areas. And 45 days ago, we're talking to our coach and we're like, hey, we're seeing price reductions, longer days on market. We're seeing the multiple offers cooling off. Now, I don't know if it's like that in San Francisco or Miami, but it surely was the case in Houston. So, I spoke with our agents at the office and I'm like, look, guys, what we're experiencing is not what we're seeing in the headlines, and we need to be talking about that out in the open houses for the guys that are out there working on a weekly basis. We're a very open house heavy group and city. But And one of the young agents who's probably 27, 28 came back and he was like, man, we got a lot of really good feedback, just kind of switching up the conversation, because you have a lot of agents out there that are posting on social media or Instagram or whatever, like multiple offers, it's a hot market, call me for a list, and whatever bullshit that they put on there. And we're out there basically almost speaking the opposite. And that caught the attention of a lot of clients. One of the guys, he was like, man, we converted 2 buyers just because they could tell that we knew what the hell was going on and we were more dialed in than the other 10 people that they visited with that day. So when it's going to shift, we're already kind of seeing it. So will that last? I don't know. Maybe it's just because everyone was traveling in the summer. We're obviously getting back into back to school. Last year at the tail end, October, November, we had a pretty strong year in Houston. So it just, I'm not exactly sure how they're, and I think it's kind of been like that since April of last year. It's like, what the hell is next month going to look like? The seasonality in our business has kind of just been thrown out the friggin' window. So that's a tough question, but that's what I have. I can just tell you what we've experienced over the past 60 days, and it's definitely cooled off a little bit. Will it stand? Not sure.
Ron, how about San Francisco and the Bay Area?
So if I had a crystal ball, if I had to guess, and I was an econ major, so I love like looking at this stuff or guessing. I would say we have 3 to 5 years. And the reason you might be shaking your head in the audience, and the reason I think it's going to be that long is there's a few factors at play. I think interest rates are going to stay low for a very long time. I think that I'm remodeling my house right now, and oh my God, is it expensive? My general contractor just said you're 2x the budget because copper costs this and lumber costs that. And so I think people are going to be like bursting at the seams. They're going to need to buy something else. So I think the demand is going to stay. Excuse me. And there's, the feds are they're going to put $1 trillion of infrastructure through, and that's going to continue to propel the economy. So I just don't see it, at least during this presidency, for the next few years at least. Who knows what happens in the next election? But that's kind of again, no crystal ball, that's my guess. Best guess is that I think we've got 3 to 5 years. There's all sorts of factors. And who knows what's around the corner? Delta today, something alpha, beta tomorrow, I don't know. And so I think you got to anticipate there could be another variant, or who knows, COVID-20, God forbid. But I think there's going to be enough of a spotlight on housing, given the importance of the roof over our head that COVID has taught us, that I think we're fine for 3 to 5 years.
Lucas.
Yeah,
please,
well,
you
for
and
us in
Bay Area.
Miami, I don't see this cooling off anytime soon. Like the city's been booming. We've been building, like if you see Miami in 2010 and you see Miami in 2020, it's a totally different city. So we built a massive city now. Probably before previous years, we didn't have like the type of property, talking to the right people, like what we were building. We were more based in Latin American people. So Miami was something like, if something is affecting Latin America, it's gonna directly affect us. Now, we have more local people coming back to Miami because of the breaks in the taxes, because we don't have a state tax. And you have all these Blackstones and all of these financial companies from New York moving to Miami because they have that. We have, now we have now if you ask me now, it seems like the market is slowed down a little bit because it's the summer. Europe went up and again, so everyone was in Europe and Greece and traveling. They're coming back now, and we have the best yet to come. Like the best part of the year is coming in the next month. So we will have our Basel, football, NFL is starting now. We have all the major sports all in Miami. Next year we will have Formula One. So that's another one. It's a contract for 5 years. And it's gonna be renewed for five more, it's 10-year Formula One. So I believe COVID helped Miami to get discovered, for all these people from the Northeast coming down and seeing that Miami is very cool. Not like what you see before, what Miami was before. So I believe this is starting to, it's not, let's you say, and I don't know, see in the next 2 years, to slow down with all what we have. So, and you went with all the developers now you will see it. We have in the new construction, there is no land available for sale. All these big developers related, they're building like the Waldorf Astoria building, the Aston Martin building. So 11 the tower. So there are so many new construction projects that are being announced, and they're already broken ground. That when you see developers putting that amount of money into the city, they know what they're doing. So we're expecting this to be a long run. Like it's not slowing down. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I assume, in Florida with the heat and the humidity in the summer, that's probably not your hot selling season.
You don't want
like
to
it is
be,
everywhere else.
to be honest, you don't want to be in the 107 degrees with 120% humidity in Miami. It's not really cool. Like even though if you are in like Canada or something like that, you probably will appreciate those temperatures. But yeah, these 2 months, like July and August, they're always very slow because everyone is out. Everyone's in Europe, everyone's in Ibiza or Spain. But yeah, next 2 months are going to be very interesting in what's going to happen because we don't have inventory and we have all these buyers very aggressively making offers and prices that you wouldn't ever imagine in the past. That's happening. They're there.
All right, well, we did want to save some time for some questions from the crowd. So we do have John in the back with the microphone to run one over. So if you do have a question for any of our panelists, if you can, just kind of wave or stand up and John will bring a mic over for you. But not everybody all at once.
Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
You mentioned the gifting programs. What are some examples of those that you can give us?
So the gifting program, there's a great, you guys want to write the following website down, I would recommend it. It's a great website started by a real estate agent. And just, you can tell him Ron Apta sent you. He's a good guy. ClientGiant.com. What's nice about that is it systematizes your gifting. So you don't have to try to figure it out every quarter or whatever. You send, and you've got there's a top of mind program for $99 a year, and you can put an agent on there that you've done a transaction with. Once a quarter they'll get a gift, or a client, it can work for both. They also have an anniversary program when your buyer, when they bought a home, wait a year, you can send an anniversary gift, a housewarming gift for them. It systematizes that. Birthdays, you could put your client's birthday into ClientGiant.com and all of that. And so I use it personally, and I encourage my team members also. But no reason why you couldn't do that for agents, and that's what we're starting to do. Because right now we don't do that. Whenever I do a transaction, close a transaction, I give a gift to the agent. But it just made me thinking about being appreciative, given what we just went through. Like maybe add them also on a more systematized, regular basis. So, ClientGiant.com.
I just want to add on to that real quick because we really doubled down, especially since 2020. We've doubled down on what we refer to as our top 50, which is basically the 50 past clients that are most likely to refer business to us. And I'd be more than happy. I'm really bad at talking about the details on who exactly we use and the type of curated gifts that we send out once a month to those 50 people. Some of the women in my office do an amazing job at really putting a nice personal touch on that. Be more than happy to share the spreadsheet of what we have for what January through December looks like. And we also systematize it, keep track of exactly where we purchased, how much it cost, so that we don't have to think about it again next year. But I will tell you that monthly drop off to the top 50 has generated a lot of business. And we also have somebody within the office that is dedicated to kind of scoping out the Instagram or Facebook profiles of those top 50, so that they just found out they're having their second baby, we're sending them something, and man, that stuff comes back tenfold. It really does generate a ton of business. Just staying on top of your top 50.
That's huge. That my director of operations also combs social media, because a life event will come up and you may not know about it. but because you've got your Facebook feed of 1,000 people, whatever it is, and you're busy. So exactly, that's a really great thing. And then they're like, holy cow, they're so touched, and that's so meaningful. And especially if it's something that you can personalize. So for example, I had a client had a baby. You can have, my wife did it because she's a postpartum maternity nurse, so she loved getting the baby towel and having it with their initials of the child, the baby. And that's such an amazing touch, and we wouldn't have known about it had it not, combing the social media, yeah.
So when you're doing those 50 gifts to your top 50 clients every month, like what is your typical spend? What do you look like, in terms of costs on doing that for your top 50?
Yeah, I mean, again, I've got all this document. I'm a bit removed from it, but we're probably spending, I would say, on a month in those top 50, probably $3,000 to $4,000. They're nice gifts or a bottle of wine, but it's all like part of a theme. And like I say, we get some of the girls in the office that do a really good job at putting it together. But it's well worth it. I mean, if you what's 4,000 times 12 months? If you get 4 or 5 deals out of that, which I can tell you for us, it's been 6, 7 times that, it really pays off.
Great. John, you got another question?
Yeah, how's it going? Michael, you mentioned that your business was heavily influenced by open houses. Can you dive into just maybe, I know it's like a really thick subject, but maybe dive into maybe some of your key strategies on how you coach your agents on how to produce good open houses? Yeah,
we're a small group and we'll always be a small group, and I love working with the just younger and new agents, mostly because I've made a shit ton of mistakes on like spending too much in this area or advertising here, and I just love being able to provide just like positive influence, but also just like keeping them from making similar mistakes and really accelerating their career. And one of the ways that we do that, and one of the ways that I'm very much like Ron, old school. I've never bought leads, Zillow to Realtor.com, nothing. Like we've never spent. It's all been very homegrown, organic, geographic farm, SOI, top 50, and direct mail. We're just now getting into taking advantage of a lot of the offerings from the digital aspect and all that good stuff. As far as open houses are concerned, I mean, in my early years, that's where I generated the most of my business. And so one of the things that, I think a lot of it boils down to emotional intelligence, right? It's like just being self-aware and knowing what to say and what not to fucking say. Excuse me. That's something that agents have a really hard time doing. So you're going to stand out pretty significantly if you can just keep your mouth shut. But we have what we call open house scenarios. So we'll pick a model home or one of the places that we've built or anything that we can get into, which we typically always have a home that's vacant and available, and we'll role play. I'll be the buyer, come in, and I'll have these young guys, and they're sweating, and I'll just drill them with questions as if I was a buyer, and then reverse it. I'll be the open house host, or some of our more talented players. I'm actually not doing that anymore just because I'm not as dialed in on it, but have some really, really good core team members that are out there weekly. So a lot of what we do to get the guys prepped is actually going through the scenarios and role playing as if it were an open house, from the moment knocking on the door to how they act when they let them go, what they offer them to drink, snacks, how they approach them when they come back down, how they extract feedback out of them, to getting an idea of what street they're on, then going to the county website, looking them up, sending a personalized mailer, letter saying, hey, nice to meet you. It's kind of stalker, but it works. So yeah, it's actually running through the scenarios as if it were an open house, like real time.
I could add to that also real quick. We just started using, finally, the Side app. It has a really good open house interface that you can have on an iPad, pair it to your iPhone or Android, whatever. And I've been shocked at how many leads were coming in straight into our CRM from the agents doing the open houses, and how open, I was really surprised, how open buyers are to inputting information in there. And then one of the questions is, do you have an agent? And most of them don't, which is really surprising. So I think we just started using that open house app, and the art of the open house, like, you know, the emotional intelligence that Michael talked about, it's so very true. You have to know kind of how to ask them to input it. And so, you know, input their information on the tablet, on the iPad. So there's a whole art to that. And normally it's right away asking for that information. As soon as they walk in the door, have it be at the foyer, at the entry. And we this last weekend, we picked up like half a dozen unrepresented buyers through our open houses because we just started implementing it. So if you guys aren't using the side open house tool on the app, I would strongly encourage you to help you with open houses.
All right, any more questions? I think we have time for one more.
While we get ready for this question, if you all would do me a favor too, before you leave, there in front of you is QR codes. If y'all can scan that and give us some feedback before you leave the room, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Hi, this is just a question for all of you. I was just wondering if you have any recommended books that have really helped your real estate career in general.
Actually, there is one book from Gary Vaynerchuk. He's one of the first one. Crushing It, I believe, is called. That's a good one for sales. The other one, I've been reading a lot with COVID. Sell It Like Servant is another one that is very good. You can, I don't actually read them. They're in Audible, Amazon. So you can listen to it. So I run a lot. So in my runs, I usually pick one of those books, and they're very good. A lot of scenario-based situations that you can learn from.
I forget the title because it was so long ago before I got into real estate sales, I was in software sales. And my boss mandated that I read this book. And it was an old sales book, and I can just tell you what I got out of it, and which is, I don't think you need the title of a book to tell you. It's all about a sales funnel. It's all about having a sales funnel, like keeping people, like working them through the funnel, put leads in the funnel. You work through different phases of the funnel, and I forget the title of the book. It was like 25 years ago, so I can't remember, but it was an old sales book. Whatever you do a search on Amazon for sales funnel, I'm sure any book about that will be very helpful.
Yeah, so I mean, I think 3 good ones right off the bat, and they're not necessarily real estate focused, but more just about like habits and routines and kind of rewiring your brain to be able to concentrate and focus, which I think just allows for better decision making. And you're able to soak up more and spot just good opportunities, have better eyes and ears. Deep work is a really good one. And then Atomic Habits, just for like really getting into good routines and habits on a daily basis. And then this is not sales or routine, but Ego is the Enemy is a really good one, just on really just learning how to check yourself, because real estate agents tend to love themselves and think that they're the best, every one of us. So you should keep that in check.
You mean you've come across an agent that cares more about themselves than their client and their best
This
interests?
is a very me-centric industry, so I think you can stand out tremendously by not being like that.
All right, well, we are just about out of time, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and thank you to our 3 panelists.